I beg to move this House do now adjourn.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. Richard Burgon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And the reason that I've sought this adjournment debate on internet service providers and suicide-related content online arises from a terrible tragedy that happened in my own Leeds East constituency. My constituent, Joe Nihill, was aged just 23 when he took his own life back in 2020 after accessing a horrific website. Now, this website has its purpose, something which should, and which I know will, alarm every member across this House. This website is dedicated to pushing people towards suicide. And in fact, this website, which I won't name for reasons of public safety, was a subject of a BBC investigation linking it to more than 50 deaths in the UK, but it's linked to many more deaths around the world as well. And the BBC investigation rightly identified multiple warnings to the UK government by coroners and a number of police investigations. That BBC investigation took place a year ago. And just so the House is clear, this website pushes people to suicide by encouraging suicide, by actively attempting to dissuade people from seeking mental health support, by actively attempting to dissuade people from seeking the support of their family and friends. It provides instructions for people on how to take their own life. It has links to where substances can be purchased, and it's even live streamed suicides. I will give way.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can I commend the Honourable Gentleman for Leeds East for bringing this forward? I spoke to him before the German debate, and I have to say that this is an issue that needs airing, and the Honourable Gentleman is doing us all a justice by doing this tonight. I'm aware that some streaming services such as Disney Plus, etc., will put disclaimers in place for graphic self-harm suicide scenes. Netflix indeed even took a step further than this, and that for their programme 13 Reasons Why removed the final episode as it contained a highly graphic scene of suicide which we found distressing. Does the honourable member agree that there must be a responsibility in screening services to screen suicidal scenes in response to their target audience, age, range as an industry standard? In other words, what we're asking for tonight is the Minister and this Government to take action. Thank you.
I thank the honourable member for his intervention. Of course, he's correct that everyone should exercise great moral responsibility when putting stuff out there for people to see and be influenced by. Joe Nihill's mother, Catherine, and Joe's sister-in-law, Melanie, have run, in the wake of that tragedy, an inspiring campaign to stop happening to other people what happened to Joe back in April 2020. And Joe, before he took his own life, left a note for his family. And in that note, he actually asked his family to do everything they could to get this website taken down so that others weren't pushed down the same path that he was pushed down. And I have to say that Catherine and Melanie have actually saved lives as a result of their interventions, personally preventing people going down this path. But of course, what's needed is not the heroism of people like Catherine and Melanie. That saved lives, but it's not enough. What's needed is a change in the law. And of course, I welcome the advance made in this regard through the Online Safety Act. And I'll turn to that point later. I will give way.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, and I also congratulate him on securing this really important debate. I have a constituent, David Parfitt, who's been in the news about his son Tom, who sadly took his own life following his visits to a very harmful site, quite possibly the same one the honourable gentleman was talking about, which promotes how you can take your own life. And he sourced poisoned that way, took his own life. There are 97 Britons, Madam Deputy Speaker, who've lost their lives following use of this website. We need to take action on these very small but very harmful websites. And the Online Safety Act actually has a provision for these to be included under Category 1, the most highly regulated category. Yet the Illegal Harms Code published yesterday didn't include them. And does the Honourable Gentleman agree with me that this is a massive oversight and they should be included in that category?
I thank the Honourable Member for her intervention, and I will actually mention her constituents' horrific experience later on in my speech. And I agree there's much further to go to ensure that the Online Safety Act does what it needs to do to protect as many people as possible. In relation to this particular website, Joe's sister-in-law Melanie said the following yesterday, actually, on social media. She said that the problem with these websites is that they are accessed by people at their most vulnerable, and children. I'm Joe's sister-in-law, and I know Joe would still be here if he hadn't accessed that website, because the method he used is only discussed there. He wouldn't have known any other way. These sites are run by people who prey on the vulnerable and say they too are going to end their life, but 4 years later they're still here doing the same thing, pushing methods. We're never going to end suicide. We know that so many people can be helped. And the BBC investigation actually identified one of the creators of the site and tracked him down to his home in Huntsville, Alabama, in the US. He was doorstepped by the BBC reporter. He refused to answer any questions, but an account associated with this creator of the site issued defiant responses about the UK wanting to block the site, and basically refusing to do that. Now, as part of the BBC investigation a year ago, the BBC contacted internet service providers, as did Joe's sister-in-law and his mother. And Sky Broadband, for example, responded by saying that they had blocked the site. And Catherine and Melanie said at the time, it's really important to us both, as it means access is becoming limited to prevent others finding it, which is a step in the right direction. And the Honourable Member mentioned her constituent, David Parfett, and David's son, Tom, was 22 when he ended his life in 2021 after accessing this site. And responding to Sky Broadband's decision as an internet service provider at the time, a year ago, to block this site, Mr. Parfett said, "It made me cry. It's pure relief mixed with anger that Tom may still be here if it had been regulated 2 years ago. My sole aim has been to stop other people being influenced to take their own life." Responding to a defiant response from the site linked to the founder of the website, Mr. Parfett added, "These people encourage others to die and celebrate death." And in a statement at the time, Ofcom told BBC News, this is just over a year ago, in regard to the then online safety bill, if services don't comply, we'll have a broad range of enforcement powers at our disposal to ensure they're held accountable. In a recent Westminster Hall debate, I intervened on the Minister in relation to this, and I congratulated the internet service providers Sky and 3 for taking action to block access to this site. And the Minister very helpfully welcomed that intervention by internet providers. And the Minister made this very important point. Internet providers do not have to wait for the Act to be enacted. They can start making such changes now. And she went on to say that the Online Safety Act is a landmark act, but it is also imperfect. Ofcom's need to consult means a long lead in time. And the Minister then said, although it's important to get these matters right, that can often feel frustrating. So it's right that internet service providers do the right thing and take responsibility. So just as Joe's family have been contacting internet service providers, so have I as well. I very much welcome the fact that 3 has responded to representations by blocking this particular site, which I won't name, Sky as well. In relation to other responses, they weren't quite as positive or as practical. Vodafone responded by saying that where customers have adult content filters enabled, it's blocked. BT responded by saying that our fixed network level broadband parental control settings for all ages block the site. And then Virgin Media stroke O2, their response to me really concerned me, actually, and I want to put this on the record. They originally came back to me saying that they would block this site if a court order told them to. And I think we need to be clear about this. It's not impressive to say if a court tells us to do something, we'll do it. A court order is a court order, and you have no choice other than to comply. And Virgin Media O2 also referred to people changing settings so they can't access this site. I think they need to get real, because somebody who's in the mind to be considering taking their own life, somebody who's struggling to control that impulse, is not likely to disable that setting to stop themselves from looking at that. So I think they need to get real. Virgin Media...
Can I give way on this point?
I will give way.
Thank you. The honourable gentleman's making a really powerful speech, and I didn't come here to speak, actually, but this is a really key topic. As we move into Christmas, many of us are looking forward to it, but it can be a real low time for people, and I really do worry about people accessing this content and also accessing content around eating disorders. Yeah. But the question has to be, for any internet service provider watching this just now, hopefully, what possible justification can they have for continuing access to this site? Are they hiding behind freedom of speech, which to me is the balance between protecting the rights of these young people against this wider freedom of speech argument? I think it seems completely imbalanced.
Yeah. I thank my honourable friend for his intervention. I couldn't agree more. This isn't a freedom of speech issue. This is a particular website linked to the deaths of 50 people in our country and many more worldwide. And Virgin Media O2 also referred, in their reply to me, to their partnership with the Internet Watch Foundation. So they responded by saying they're handling this through their partnership with the Internet Watch Foundation. But I contacted the Internet Watch Foundation and they replied to me as follows: we work with companies to block child sexual abuse material specifically, so don't work on suicide-related content, I'm afraid. And so this was a poor reassurance from Virgin Media, pointing to their partnership with an organisation which does great work, I'm sure, but not in relation to this specific issue. I then pressed Virgin Media O2 further, and they said that we will review the specific website you raised with us and consider if further action should be taken. Now, of course, further action should be taken. Of course, there are technological limits sometimes that mean a block can't be 100% effective, but lives can be saved and will be saved by restricting the number of people who access this site. I also want to put on record that I've had no answer from EE. The EE should answer and they should act, and I'd encourage all internet service providers to do the right thing and in whatever way they can block this specific site linked to 50 UK deaths and also the subject of police investigations, as we understand it, and also referred to in various coroners' reports. But to give a sense of the scale of the challenge, 3 UK has kindly provided me with data today that shows that they have blocked 10,025 attempts to access URLs they have categorised under suicide and self-harm over the past month alone. That's just over the past month alone. So 3 UK should be congratulated on what they've done, and the fact that they can inform me about the number of attempted accesses to sites like this that they blocked shows you why it's fundamentally necessary for other companies to do the right thing. I also want to move on to the fact that the site is hosted by Cloudflare, a major company with a good reputation and a corporate office in London. I want to draw the House's attention, and I emailed the Right Honourable Member earlier about this, that on the 31st of October 2023, the Right Honourable Member for Goole and Pocklington, as his constituency is now, raised a written question which was passed to the Home Office. He said, to ask the Secretary of State for the Home Department whether her department has held recent discussions with Cloudflare on removing the website linked to deaths by suicide reported on the BBC on the 24th of October 2023. So the Right Honourable Member was asking what had the then government done to pressure Cloudflare that hosts this particular site to themselves take it down and disrupt its operation. There was no answer given to that. As it stands, he's still awaiting a response from that question on the 31st of October 2023. I myself wrote to the Chief Executive Officer, Matthew Prince, of Cloudflare, and I wrote to him making very clear what had happened in this situation. And I said to him, the reason I'm writing to you today, this is on the 29th of May 2024, the reason I'm writing to you today is because it appears your company is hosting this website. And I would like to draw this to your attention so you can terminate your hosting of this site to protect the public in both our countries, the USA and the UK, and across the world. I know a successful company of over a decade's good standing like Cloudflare with an excellent reputation would not wish to be associated with such harmful content linked to the deaths of many vulnerable people across the world, and I detailed the whole matter as I detailed it to this House this evening. And I've put that I'll be very grateful if you could look into this matter as a matter of urgency before any more vulnerable people are encouraged or enabled to harm themselves due to this website's activities. Cloudflare ceasing to host this website would not be a contravention of the principle of freedom of speech, but a choice of a reputable and respected company not to give a platform to a website which has been linked to the deaths of 50 people in the UK alone. Such a decision by Cloudflare could well save lives. And I said it should be noted that both Sky Broadband and Free Mobile have blocked access to this website. Now, I got no response to that letter, and it's a really serious matter. So I hope that not only internet service providers will do the right thing, I hope that the major company Cloudflare will do the right thing and stop hosting this website. Disrupting its operation that way could save lives, and I believe will save lives. So just to conclude my speech, I want to ask the Minister, who's been doing a fantastic job on these sensitive issues, I want to ask the Minister a number of questions. Will the Minister congratulate those internet service provider companies who have done the right thing in taking action to block this site? Will the Minister agree with me that those who haven't, those internet service providers who haven't, should step up to save lives? Can the Minister assure me that the online safety bill, once Ofcom's powers are fully enacted, will deal with this specific site regardless of the number of people who access it, and regardless of whether or not those people are under or over 18. I find it very frustrating when the internet service providers are getting back to me referring to child protection. My constituent Joe was 23 when he took his own life. My honourable friend's constituent was 21 or 22 when he took his own life. And so it's ridiculous to assume that suicide, harmful suicide-related content of this type is only applicable or only a danger to people under 18. And will the Minister, in relation to the question put down on the 23rd of October 2023 by the Right Honourable Member for Goole and Pocklington, it went to the Home Office, could the Minister take action to ensure that her department answers this question? And will the Minister agree that the government will contact Cloudflare as the host for this site and raise concerns and make representations, because we are talking about the deaths of 50 citizens in our country? And I want to just finish my remarks by again paying tribute to Catherine, Joe's mother, and Melanie, Joe's sister-in-law. Their actions have saved lives. They've been navigating this complex, ever-changing world of the dangerous activities that go on online. They've saved lives, and they've been struggling to do so against great odds. Sometimes it feels like a David and Goliath situation. I also note that when, for example, people are illegally streaming football matches, action is taken very, very quickly. Yet this website, linked to the deaths of 50 people, remains up there. So I look forward to the Minister's response, and I thank members for attending this evening.
Minister.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for Leeds East for opening this debate and for all the other colleagues who have contributed. I know it will be close to the hearts of many of us because it's about protecting the safety of everyone, including our children and young people. And this evening I want to talk about why this issue matters and what the Online Safety Act will do about it. First, I'd like to share my deepest sympathy with the family and friends of Joe Nahil from the member's constituency, a 23-year-old man who ended his life after finding suicide-related content online. Unfortunately, stories like Joe's are not uncommon, as we've heard from the about Tom, 22-year-old young man, who also has died due to suicide. As part of our work in online safety, we speak to groups that have campaigned for years for a safer internet, often led by bereaved families. So I'd like to thank Catherine, Joe's mother, Melanie, Joe's sister-in-law, and all the bereaved families for their tireless work. We continue to listen to their expertise in this conversation. People who are thinking about ending their lives or hurting themselves might turn to the internet as a place of refuge. And all too often, what they find instead is content encouraging them not to seek help. And this deluge of content has a real-world impact. Suicide-related internet use is a factor in around a quarter of deaths by suicide among people aged 10 to 19 in the UK. That's at least 43 deaths a year. And while lots of research in this area focuses on children, it is important to recognise that suicide-related internet use can be a factor in suicide in all age groups. These harms are real, and tackling them must be a collective effort. And so on the Honourable Member's first point, I would like to say that we welcome efforts by all companies, including internet service providers, in tackling illegal content so that no more lives are tragically lost to suicide. Online safety forms a key pillar of the government's suicide prevention strategy. We are clear, though the principal responsibility for this content sits squarely with those who post such hateful content and the sites where it is allowed to fester, sites which up until now have not been made to face the consequences. We know that the Online Safety Act has been a long time coming. A decade of delay has come at a tragic human cost. But change is on its way. On Monday, Ofcom published their draft legal harms codes under the Online Safety Act. These codes are a step change. So on the honourable member's second point, I can confirm that from spring next year, for the first time, social media platforms and search engines will have to proactively look for and take down illegal content. These codes will apply to sites big and small. If services don't comply, they could be hit by massive fines, or Ofcom could, with the agreement of the courts, use business disruption measures, court orders that mean third parties have to withdraw their services, or restrict or block access to non-compliant services in the UK. We have made intentionally encouraging or assisting suicide a priority offence under the Act. That means that all providers, no matter their size, will have to show they're taking steps to stop their sites being used for content like this. The strongest protection in the Act's frameworks are for children. So on the third point that the Honourable Member raised, I can assure him that under the draft Child Safety Codes, and any site that allows content that promotes self-harm, eating disorders or suicide will now have to use highly effective age limits to stop children from accessing this content. And some sites will face extra duties. We've laid a draft regulation setting out the threshold conditions for Category 1, 2A and 2B services under the Act. Category 1 sites are those that have the ability to spread content easily, quickly and widely. They'll have to take down content if it goes against their terms of service, like posts that could encourage self-harm or eating disorders. They'll also have to give adult users the tools to make it less likely they'll see content they don't want to, or will alert them to the nature of potentially harmful content. A suicide forum will be very unlikely to have terms of services that restrict legal suicide content, and users of these sites probably won't want to use tools to make it less likely that they'll see content like this. But that absolutely doesn't mean that forums like these, what people call small but risky sites...
Order, order.
I beg to move that this House to now adjourn.
The question is that this House to now adjourn. Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But I just want to make it clear that it doesn't absolutely mean that forums like these, what has been termed small but risky sites, can go unnoticed. Every site will have to proactively remove illegal content, like where there's proven intent of encouraging someone to end their life, whether they have 5 users or 500 million users. Ofcom has also set up a small but risky supervision task force to make sure that smaller forums comply with new measures, and Ofcom is ready to take enforcement actions if they don't. Because we understand that just one person seeing content like this could mean that one body harmed, one life ended, one family left grieving. So I want to, of course...
I thank the Minister for giving way. The problem is the sites that the Honourable Gentleman referred to, and there are many others like it, don't necessarily fall under the illegal category, but they have extremely dangerous and harmful content. Yet there was a proactive decision made, despite a cross-party vote in Parliament, to include in the Online Safety Act the provision to include these very small and very dangerous sites in Category 1. They have been left out in the illegal codes that were published yesterday in the Illegal Harms Code. Can she just put on record exactly why that is? Why can't this site be included under that category? Because there are all sorts of things, glamorising suicide, self-harm, eating disorders, and other hate speech that are being promoted by these small sites. They should be regulated to a high level.
Minister.
So, for Category 1, this is based on research regarding the likely impact of the user numbers and functionalities. It's about easy, quick, and wide dissemination of regulated user-generated content. And as Melanie Dawes set out in her letter to the Secretary of State in September, Ofcom has established a small but risky supervision task force, as I mentioned, to manage and enforce compliance among smaller services. They have the power to impose significant penalties and, as I say, take remedial actions against non-compliant services. And as I said, as the member for Leeds East mentioned earlier, I have to say, the Online Safety Act is not. It's one of the biggest steps that they, cross-government have taken on online safety. It is imperfect, it is a iterative process, and it will be kept under review. I'm going to continue. So I just want to, I want to thank my honourable friend for raising this and for bringing to our memory John Healy and those like him who turned to the internet for help and were met with harm. And on his final point, I just want to say, for effective implementation of the Online Safety Act, we will continue to engage with all providers in this space. I'm confident that these measures are a big step in making tech companies play their part in wiping out those harms and making the internet a safer place for all of us. And finally, on the outstanding question that he raised, I don't know if he has gone to the wrong department, but I will commit to looking that question up and make sure that the member receives a response to that. With that, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I just want to wish you a very happy Christmas and happy Christmas to the whole House.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Order, order.